It is exactly the 8th of March 2022, one of the most anticipated days in the course of the year, a day we get to celebrate internationally, a day we get to celebrate all women and of course in all spheres, politically, economically, culturally and socially. Good morning Uganda, right here once again. My name is Philomena and happy International Women's Day. All the women out there, we celebrate you. All women of color, all women of sizes, all women of ages, we accept you, we appreciate you, all the value that you bring to the table. This year's theme internationally is actually celebrating gender equality today for a sustainable tomorrow. Now this theme here is basically to recognize the contribution of females, women and girls when it comes to the fight of climate change, adapting, mitigating. What have you brought to the table? We are going to be looking into all that, well, because it is the theme of the day, and as we celebrate the women, of course, we have to bring in the aspect of climate change. As I speak of climate change, of course, you know that here on Good Morning Uganda, we do have one who is a really strong enthusiast when it comes to climate change, and probably it would be very ideal for us to find out what she has to say about this. Good morning, Mollen.
Yes, a very good morning to you, Philo, and I want to say good morning to you, our viewers, and our family for Good Morning Uganda. Well, and also I want to say a happy Women's Day. It is an International Women's Day, and I am glad about this year's theme. Really.
Oh yes, you should be. You should be.
Exactly.
Very happy.
Women have done a lot when it comes to protecting our environment. I could cite 100 and more of the women who have been on the forefront. Of course, I would include myself, because when we are talking about a fight against climate change, we also bring in the aspect of communication, and there are women that have been at the forefront of climate protection. But also, Philo, what I want to talk about is how we actually ended up putting on purple for today.
Oh yes.
Yeah, so there are colors that actually we use to recognize Women's Day, and purple just signifies the justice, the dignity.
Yes.
And of course, I think Philo and I really wanted to bring that aspect. But also when you talk about climate change, look into how women actually do fare when it comes to adaptation, because they are most affected, that's for sure. They are most vulnerable. You can go through a day as a man knowing that, you know, there is no food at home, but a woman will not be settled. She will find that food to put on the table and feed kids, even you. So that's how it actually comes in.
Well, as you can see, it zeroes down at all institutions, at all levels. Women have something to do with it. They have responsibilities that they actually meet. And also, again, it would be ideal for us to hear from the man on the panel, what he has to think about this. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning to you, Philo, and of course, our activist here, that is Mollen. I'll never forget that day when we had a discussion regarding burning fossil fuels, and I almost felt like telling her, can you get off the set?
Yeah.
Because I've had enough of you. We've just entered the disco club. We are beginning to dance, and we are not
And you
willing.
can bring conversations about fossils.
And we are not willing anywhere. So you can stop those that have not already entered.
Yeah.
But for us who have entered the disco club, let us dance, let us enjoy. So it was a hot debate
Is
here.
a wrong thing. So either way, you knew for sure that I was going to come on hard
Definitely.
and be like, no, this is not a way to
No,
go.
we can't. We do this well.
See, this is why we're celebrating women, because we do stand out and be like, no, this is wrong. However much it's the new thing we're exploring, we want to get into fossil fuels, but this poses danger to our environment and our climate change.
And to now cut
It
you
is
short,
that.
please.
I
So
knew that.
have you know how much we have an activist here when it comes to issues of climate change. And indeed, I want to say women are the most affected, like my sisters have put it, because traditionally here it's the women that fetch firewood to cook.
Yes.
So when you destroy this environment and they have nowhere, their main source of cooking in the rural areas happens to be that. When you talk about floods, you know, look at this pregnant mother. The waters, the floods are washing away. She's carrying her children. You know, there's so much that women suffer much. Not saying that the men are not affected.
Yes.
But levels of vulnerability differ. Because you find a man could have many children for many women. And maybe he doesn't have that responsibility, but the mother will always be with her children in tough and good times. So when such a day is set aside to recognize that is women that have really played a good role, a big role in climate change, adaptation and mitigation, I really feel it was well chosen, because the biggest threat of the world today may necessarily not be war, despite the fact that we have Russia and Ukraine. but climate change. Where the global temperatures every day are shooting high, where rain seasons, for me who is very passionate about farming, where we used to expect rains in March, and you know we're going to have them run till May, today you just have drizzles. Where even some people now cannot sleep the way you used to sleep. You know, you put on your nights and it's so hot you almost want to sleep in Adam's suit. Yes. So where there is so much you can talk about climate change and its impact. So to me, this is the #1 enemy, where people are getting diseases as a result of destroying the ozone layer. You know, so heat comes direct. There is so much, and to me, I believe this is the giant that the world must join forces to fight. So I feel this theme was well selected at such a particular time when we need to bring the attention of the world that we have a problem we must solve. What you do in Asia, what you do in the United States will affect a poor man in Africa who may not even have a factory where he works, but is just a peasant.
Well, there you go. Gender equality at all levels and in all sectors actually matters. Whether it is a fight towards making sure that the climate is doing well, maybe rather in leadership, still gender equality is very important. Maybe business, maybe cultural leadership, all this is very important for us to note. We cannot downplay the role of women, of the female gender at all levels. They have something to bring to the table, and that we cannot definitely try to ignore it. Well, we'll be getting into more of that, and you know, our conversations today are going to be surrounding more about the Women Talk we are celebrating. Now, you need to be part of the celebration. You need to celebrate all the women out there. Now, like Mollen said earlier on, purple is a representation. We have about quite 3 symbolic colors when it comes to the International Women's Day celebrations. We do have purple indeed that actually means justice, and also we have green that stands for hope, but also white that comes through to represent purity. So you could, oh yes. Exactly. now white comes albeit quite a lot of controversy. Indeed, you can see Robert is trying to a bit skeptical, but yes, there is a bit of purity right there.
I wish we had International Men's Day, and white would be ours.
But yes, you could be part of the celebrations. You can don a green shirt, a green dress, I don't know, a white dress, a white shirt. Even as a man, you can still be part of the celebrations. Now, Uganda as a country also is going to be taking part, joining the rest of the world to celebrate this day, of course, like always, and we'll be having His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni grace the main event. And of course, here at UBC TV, we'll be giving you the live coverage. We'll be giving you the updates so that you don't have to miss out. It's a public holiday, you are home, so we anticipate that you are out on the couch or wherever trying to see how it's going to go down right here in Uganda. But aside from that, we also need to take a look at some of the stories that made it to the news desk last night, both on the local scene and on the international scene. And I will start off with you, Robert. What do you have for us today?
Of course, with a reminder that we'll be telecasting, or we'll be bringing live to you events as they'll be unfolding at Kolo ceremonial grounds. So please stay at home, follow the events. Just on your TV, Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, that is our mandate. On all our TV stations and 11 radio stations, you'll be able to catch the events at Kololo. We begin with the First Lady, Janet Museveni. The First Lady and Minister for Education and Sports, Janet Museveni, has praised the Mastercard Foundation for its continued investment in training and skilling of young people in Uganda. The First Lady was meeting the new Mastercard Foundation head in Uganda, Adrian Bukenya, together with the predecessor, Samuel Adela, who paid a courtesy call on her at State House, Nakasero. The meeting was also attended by the State Minister for Higher Education, Dr. Jesse Muyingo, and the Vice Chancellor of Mercury University, Professor Barnabas Nawangwe. The Mastercard Foundation has been implementing a $20 million 10-year scholarship program at Makerere University with 1,032 academically bright but economically disadvantaged youth from Africa have been enabled to access quality education since 2013. The students receive comprehensive financial, academic, psychosocial, and mentorship support, plus leadership training and transition support, among others. Mrs. Museveni wondered why there is a 1.3% dropout rate of students under the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship Program at Mercury University. She described the program as a well-planned and financed and tasked Mercury University leadership to conduct a study on the issue of dropout. She requested the foundation's head to consider enrolling young people from Karamoja sub-region under the vulnerable young students to benefit from the scholarship program.
Well, away from that, we look at Uganda Kingdom, where the Uganda Kingdom has dismissed allegations that Milo land system is the trouble causer of land conflicts. Addressing Ruchiko members in the second sitting of the 29th Buganda Ruchiko, Katikiro Maiga advised government to solve land problems like cases that are overstaying in courts rather than talking on Milo land as the cause. The second sitting of the 29th Buganda Ruchiko, chaired by the Deputy Speaker Ahmed Rasa, convened to discuss matters directed to them by Kabaka Ronald Mwenda Mutebi II. While speaking on land matters in Buganda Kingdom, the Katikiro Peter Maiga said Buganda, as a cultural institution, instituted a committee to look into the land matters and report back their findings to the Ruchiko to offer appropriate solutions. Maiga also called on the central government and security agencies to respect human rights, and his call follows a media report of torture of civilians by state security operatives. Katikiro also revealed that Uganda Kingdom is not in agreement with the decision of Uganda Coffee Development Authority to withdraw Uganda from the International Coffee Organization. The Ruchiko passed a resolution to meet Uganda Coffee Development Authority to discuss on matters of withdrawing Uganda from ICO.
Where from the Uganda Ruchiko, we now move to Kabale, Katuna-Gatuna border. With the opening of the Uganda Katuna-Gatuna border in Kabale district, very few people have crossed from either sides. Only one bus from Rwanda carrying passengers crossed to Uganda after subjecting each of the occupants to mandatory PCR test. No vehicle from Uganda crossed to Rwanda except a few people walking on foot. The border closure stampede between Rwanda and Uganda seems to have come to an end following the opening of the border in Kabale district. By the time we reached there, few Ugandans would cross on foot, though some others were denied entry due to lack of movement permits. Equally, from Rwanda, there was almost no business, and there used to be busy border looking very calm. A few minutes later, a bus carrying passengers from Rwanda reached at the border, and each of the occupants was subjected to mandatory PCR test. The exercise took over 6 hours. It was allowed to cross in Uganda. Inside the bus, there were a few passengers who later narrated to us what they went through all the way from Kigali. Besides, each of these was allowed to cross to Uganda upon showing his or her movement permit to the border authority. It's about 3 years since Rwanda closed its border to Uganda. That used to be a very busy Katuna town has since laid in limbo, but now locals and URA officials have hopes that the reopening will see business opportunities continue and business fully resume. Following the partial reopening of the border, last month only URA received 100 cargo trucks coming from Rwanda, though majority were empty. It hampered revenue collection, according to URA officials at the border.
In another story, the General Court Martial has finally released the former Special Operation Unit Commandant SSP Nixon Agasiri on bail. However, the chairperson, Lieutenant General Andrew Guti, in granting the accused Agasiri bail, released Agasiri on stringent bail terms, including not to move beyond premises of Kampala and Wakiso. The former Special Operations Unit Commandant, SSP Nixon Agasiri, has once again appeared at the General Court Martial in Makindye for the ruling on his bail application he filed before court last week. Prosecution did not object his application, however, asked court to grant him bail on stringent bail conditions. The court, which adjourned for 15 minutes before giving its ruling, when it assumed that the chairman of the court-martial, Lieutenant General Andrew Guti, granted the accused bail of 30 million non-cash and sureties 50 million non-cash. Guti, however, gave Agasiri stringent bail conditions, including to appear in court twice in a month. The accused, Nixon Agasiri, who was represented by counsel Umar Kwago, who was pleased by the court's ruling. Nixon Nagasiri has spent over 5 years in Makindye military prison without hearing of the charges against him. SSP Agasire is also accused of, with the former Commissioner of Police, CP Joel Aguma, Herbert Muhanji, the former Commandant of Uganda Police, Firing Squad, Canon Duhure Atuoki, former Director of Crime Intelligence, Jonas Ayebaze, and Abel Chitagenda, who were also released on bail by the same court.
And swaying it to the international scene, we're still looking at the Russia-Ukraine war happening, and more updates are coming in. For now, Russia announces new ceasefire for Tuesday morning, says Ukrainians can choose where they want to be evacuated to. Russian President Vladimir Putin says Russia will not use conscript soldiers in Ukraine, and there will be no additional call-up of reservists. Now, United Nations aid chief calls for safe passage for civilians to leave conflict areas in Ukraine in the direction they choose. U.S. envoy to UN urges Russia to make firm commitment to facilitate humanitarian access. And Russian move to longer-range attacks in Ukraine has increased civilian casualties and damage to civilian infrastructure, according to the Pentagon. And the UN has warned that Russia's invasion has triggered the fastest-growing refugee crisis in Europe since World War II. More than 1.7 million people have fled the conflict. And Iran has said it will not allow foreign powers to force its hand and was awaiting clarification from Moscow after a new Russian demand about sanctions linked with Ukraine clouded the prospects of restoring a 2015 nuclear deal with world powers. Now, according to the Foreign Ministry, while standing firm in maintaining our red lines, we won't allow any foreign factors to impact our national interests at the talks in Vienna. Foreign Minister Hossein Amribadollahian told a group of lawmakers on Monday. His comments come after Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov demanded a written guarantee from the United States that Western sanctions on Russia for its invasion of Ukraine will not hinder Moscow from trading and cooperating with Tehran. Iran's Tasnim news website quoted Russia's ambassador to Tehran, Levan Zhagarn, as saying there has been a misunderstanding about Lavrov's comments without elaborating further. It remained to be seen what the last-minute Russian demand will entail for the talks in the Austrian capital that appeared to be very close to the finish line after more than 11 months on Friday, but faced new uncertainty on Saturday when Lavrov made the demand. And getting back home here, Nigeria has said it will not allow its nationals to be enlisted to fight in Ukraine, where Russian forces are bombing cities and rattling neighborhoods with gunfire. This follows reports of alleged recruitment of volunteers in the country to fight on the side of Ukraine. Nigeria's foreign ministry said the Ukrainian embassy had denied any role in the alleged exercise, but the embassy confirmed that a number of Nigerians had approached it, indicating willingness to join the war, according to a ministry statement. Now, the embassy also distanced itself from claims that it was requesting about $1,000 from each Nigerian volunteer for an air ticket and visa. Nigeria discourages the use of mercenaries anywhere in the world and will not tolerate the recruitment in Nigeria of Nigerians as mercenaries to fight in Ukraine or anywhere else in the world, the ministry's spokesperson said. Now, it comes days after Senegal warned against volunteers enlisting to fight against Russians in Ukraine. It also ordered the Ukrainian ambassador to take down a Facebook post that had called on Senegalese volunteers to enlist to the war.
To weather news, where there is climate crisis as the Amazon rainforest tipping point is looming. Data shows now the Amazon is approaching a tipping point after which the rainforest will be lost, with profound implications for global climate and biodiversity. Computer models have previously indicated a mass dieback of the Amazon and is possible, but the new analysis is based on real-world satellite observations over the past 3 decades. Novel statistical analysis shows that more than 75% of the untouched forest has lost stability since the early 2000s, meaning that it takes longer to recover after droughts and wildfires. The greatest loss of the stability is in the areas closer to farms, roads and urban areas, and in regions that are becoming drier, suggesting that the forest destruction and global heating are the cause. These factors may already have pushed the Amazon close to a crucial threshold of rainforest dieback, as scientists conclude. The study does not enable prediction of when the tipping point could be reached, but researchers warned that by the time the triggering of tipping point could be detected, it would be too late to stop it. Once triggered, the rainforest would transform to grassland over a few decades at most, releasing huge amounts of carbon and accelerating global heating further.
Well, this morning, in the morning poll question, we would really want to hear what you have to say. Now, as we continue to assess the progression of women empowerment, especially when it comes to the sustainability of the economy, we also need to look at some of the contributions they have made, especially when it comes towards the fight of climate change, which, by the way, seems to be one of the major things that we are looking at, that one of the major aspects that drove the theme of this year's International Women's Day celebrations. Now, we ask you, how can women in Uganda promote the mitigation and response to climate change adaptations? I repeat that. How can women in Uganda promote the mitigation and response to climate change adaptations? Of course, your response can come through using the hashtag UBCGMU, but also you can send us an SMS text or a WhatsApp message. The number is 0709 602 592. I repeat the number 0709 602 592. Of course, as Good Morning Uganda still goes on, we'll be sharing your feedback with the rest of the country. But also, it's International Women's Day, and I don't know, Robert, what you have to tell us has something to do with strengthening us as women. I don't know. You need to put some clarity on that.
Yeah.
Well, this is a special day to ladies.
Indeed it is.
It is. So, men out there, one of the surprises that you can give your loved one this special day, recognized globally, is a carton of Hallelujah Jingati, Hallelujah Tamarind. And I want to assure you, this will not only keep her healthy, but also it will, in one way or the other, renew your relationship, because she will really know that you care about her health. It's not about buying the good cars, the clothes, but also something. Because what these do is they boost one's immune system. And what more does a woman need apart from a man who cares about her health? A tip for you.
That's a wonderful tip, Robert. I mean, when you
Strength
talk about
of a woman is very important.
Exactly. Talk about the gifts that people are supposed to receive on Women's Day. I mean, if you are caring about someone's health, I think it's important. So you make a good point right there.
Rather than taking her out to eat the usual things, eh?
Exactly.
You take Mollen for chips, then chicken.
And they're not healthy, so
yeah, and the next day she's in hospital. So for Dr. Lavin, that opinion, I tell you, this is the best.
Well, if you're planning to be part of the celebrations, indeed, go buy that woman in your life. Go buy that woman you know at work a carton of Hallelujah to make sure that you give them some hope and to show that you really care about them, truly and honestly. Well, we'll be getting into the inspiration song at the top of the hour to celebrate the women out there. And of course, when we get back, it will be Good Morning Uganda Newsreel, where we'll be diving right deep into the theme of today's celebrations. And of course, we'll also be giving you some of the traffic updates, which roads are being cordoned off, because already as it is, some roads are inaccessible right about now. And of course, we'll be giving you some more information concerning climate change, the drive that is coming in from the female gender. Of course, Mollen will be here to give you more of that. And remember, we are streaming live on YouTube, so while you are at home, you could actually choose to get us, whether you're in the kitchen, whether you're in the bathroom, whether you're in the bedroom, you can still get to listen to what we have to say to you. You don't have to miss out on the important details. Well, we'll be back right after this inspiration song. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
How to get points. Just use MTN to make calls, send SMS, load airtime, buy bundles, or pay for MTN subscription services.
Everywhere you go, MTN. Raising Voices.
As a teacher, I have the opportunity to shape how children grow and learn. I believe in creating a non-violent school where children feel safe and respected. I promise to lead by example and create a different kind of relationship with my learners, one that helps them grow.
In this time of COVID, what is your promise to the children of Uganda? Because a violence-free childhood is everyone's right. Raising Voices.
You know, you could just buy a new smartphone from anywhere in Uganda. Dial *175 *94 hash to activate their 100% double data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles for 3 months. Better yet, you automatically receive free 1 GB valid for 30 days. You are hooked already, aren't you? Enjoy 100% double data bonus from Airtel. Buy a smartphone from anywhere in Uganda and insert an Airtel SIM card. Dial *175 *94 hash to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles, valid for 3 months. Dial *175 hash and select your preferred bundle to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles, valid for 3 months. Airtel, the smartphone network.
It's time to learn. Schools are open. As a student, school life is going to be different. You must follow the COVID-19 prevention measures, which include always maintaining a 2-meter distance from others in class, dormitories, entertainment halls, school vans and playgrounds, regularly washing your hands with soap and water, wearing a washed and clean mask that covers your mouth and nose every day, and encouraging your classmates to do the same. Your teachers will also guide you on how to follow SOPs. Don't engage in violence with other students. Report any cases of abuse by teachers or other children to a senior teacher. Those who don't follow the rules should be immediately reported to a class teacher for correction and further guidance. If you experience flu-like symptoms such as a sore throat, fever, dry cough or body weakness, immediately seek medical attention from the school nurse and inform your class teacher. Whenever you sneeze or cough, please remember to cover your nose and mouth with a bent elbow, tissue or handkerchief. Let's share knowledge, not COVID-19. This message is supported by the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education and Sports, and UNICEF. Stay safe.
Double MBs for the same price on daily bundles with Airtel. Now you get double MBs for twice your enjoyment. For 250 shillings, you now get double. That's 30 MBs. For only 500 shillings, you get 80 MBs. And for 1,000 Uganda shillings, enjoy 180 MBs, all valid for 24 hours. Dial *175 hash or use the My Airtel app to enjoy double MBs on your daily bundles for the exact same price. With Airtel, the smartphone network.
Patriotism is a feeling of love, devotion, and the willingness to sacrifice for one's country.
I say no to corruption because I put my country first. I choose peace over violence because I put my country first.
I love Uganda. I serve Uganda. I sacrifice for Uganda. I'm loyal to Uganda. I love my soul.
Be patriotic. Uganda first. This message is brought to you by the National Secretariat for Patriotism Co-Uganda, Office of the President.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Gender equality today for a sustainable future. The theme of today's International Women's Day, where we get to appreciate, what the women have brought in culturally, politically, economically, and also socially, but also measuring the focus on their contribution towards the fight of climate change, adaptation, and mitigation. In Uganda, of course, but also looking at it from the scene of the entire globe. We'll be, of course, joined by Mollen, Kenyena right here, and also Robert Kirabo, who are going to be dissecting more into this. Well, good morning, Uganda. Welcome to Newsreel. And of course, today we are really celebrating this day, and not forgetting to remind you that UBC will be UBC will be giving you a live coverage of how Uganda as a country is also taking part in the international celebrations that are going to be happening at Kololo Independence Ground. So you have to make sure you catch all the details. Well, to start off, we also need to look at the implication of gender equality to sustainable development. Now, as we know that every country deserves to have a stable economy, and everybody brings something to the table. When it comes to the men, when it comes to the children, when it comes to institutions, when it comes to women, there is a whole lot that we bring to the table. Maybe to start off with you, Robert, what would this exactly mean? Equality, gender equality, how does it, what effect does it have when it comes to the economy of a country?
Thank you so much, Philo, and of course, once again, happy Women's Day to all the ladies there that are joining to celebrate this day. We are recognized, not only those that have done much in terms of being ambassadors or activists in terms of climate change, mitigation, adaptation, but we also look at all those women that have played a key role in our socio-economic development, many of them who have done so much to inspire others, that have broken all odds to get to where they are, and now they can be looked up to. And someone says, a little girl in a village somewhere says, I can make it because she made it. I really feel I want to commend those ladies, the likes of Rebecca Kadaga, the likes of Helen Kajina, the likes of, the list is endless.
Yes.
That now other young girls there look up to. The Deputy Speaker of Parliament, those in the armed forces, really, I celebrate you this day. Well, when you talk about, first, we need to understand what do we mean by gender inequality before you look at the opposite of it. This means that people are segregated on basis of their gender. Previously, one would educate the boy and not educate the girl because they believe the girl is simply going to get married off. Yet the boy has to study. So what would this mean at the end of the day? That the dependency syndrome would increase economically. This has an impact. That, for a family, it will only be the man to go and fend for the family. So when we promote gender equality, one of the things we are doing is we are breaking all these barriers that have been hindering the female gender to shine and reach its heights of potential.
It's really very necessary. But also when you talk about the implication of gender equality, I also believe that it has something to do with capital, because right about now, half of the female capital that could actually be used by countries to make sure that they put the economy up there is not being utilized. Mollen, if you imagine a situation where we have to incorporate female capital, and when it comes to all, by the way, levels, policy making decisions and all that, what do you think that would add to the table?
Well, thank you, Philo. And when you bring in the aspect of policy making, then you look at where does this originate? Because talking about gender equality is really at a core front of all government policies, if you are to emphasize that. But I want to mention what has been done so far, because we do know that out of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that, the UN did put across, goal number 5 is specifically stipulating gender equality. And that is where it all starts for all countries that are party to all these UN organizations. But also you look into what Uganda has done so far. And the 1995 Constitution clearly demonstrated that by putting a legal framework of women equality, and that is something that we have been following for a while. And also you have to look into the works that so far the Ministry of Gender, and Social Development has been doing by, making sure that they are putting up, programs that are specifically meant for empowering women, and that is something, at least efforts that government has done to make sure that there is representation at that level. But you also look into the fact that even when we're talking about, having this equality, before the previous governments, we did have small representation in terms of parliamentarians. But now we are in an era where we have women members of parliaments at every level. Take a look at the women that have been put in government right now that are taking on big posts. That is equality right there, right from our vice president to the minister of education, to Prime Minister. I am telling you, the list is endless, and that is what at least Uganda has done to make sure that there is quality in terms of representation. But also on such a theme, when we're talking about women that are involved in climate justice and making sure there is climate change, and one for me who really stands out is Mama Mabida, and mostly hailed for her fight to protect Mabida, and that is Honorable Beatrice Annual, who is Minister of State for Water and Environment. She has at least put her role and been assertive on the emphasis of what she's standing for, and that is legislation right there, making sure that at least even with the Ugandan representation at such a level, we have women that are fighting for what women in this era are going for.
Okay, now Robert, let's draw our focus and attention on Uganda, especially when it comes to the gender equality in the legal policy and program forum. What is Uganda doing? How is the legal framework? Do you think it's in favor for both the female? Do we see some gender equality when it comes to these forums, the legal area and also policy and also programming needs?
Oh, I love that. I love that, Philo, when you talk about policy, because for anything really to be of great impact at state level, you must have laws, you must have policies in place. Now, when it comes to laws and policies, I want to believe Uganda is one of the countries that has made tremendous strides, more so under the leadership of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, His Excellency. And this has not only come after the 1995 Constitution as amended, but also even during the Bush War. We're told of how initially ladies were factored in at various committees. So, and that's why you find that many ladies have a saying, Timzeya to Jemanju, meaning people who were known to be in the kitchen, not doing so much. But with the coming in of this government, there is so much that was done. But I want to go exactly on what is in our constitution, what is on paper, what our scholars can follow. And I did this carefully. I want to begin with, that is the establishment of the Equal Opportunities Commission Act 2007. When we talk about this, the framers of our constitution saw it very wise that we have a commission that looks at all these inequalities, more so based on gender. And it's fully fledged. That is why even when someone feels offended or there is any way of unfairness based on gender, we have this, it will investigate. Its mandate is also to promote equality among women and of course men. So that is a legal framework that we have as a country. Then when we move ahead, we have the National Women's Council Act 1993.
Yes.
Now this does not only look at issues of women, but even it goes back to the politics. If you look at its framework, empowering women on the political arena, right from village level, mentoring, following up strictly issues of women, and our government invests in it proudly, I must say, and I want to say they have done a tremendous job. We've seen many that were once members of this and now are taking up places of leadership. Now, when you move from that, we have the Domestic Violence Act of 2010. We must understand that a woman who has been battered, a woman who is psychologically tortured, and one of the challenges that was hindering women to shine are issues of domestic violence. When a woman wanted to stand as a leader, the husband says there is no role for politics, for politically empowered women in this house. And if she was battered, then her interests would be brought really down. But with such policies, with such laws in place, women have the equal rights to shine, and knowing that in case she's being suppressed, there is a law that protects her.
Yes.
Then still, when you look at, we still have also the most popular, which is Public Finance Management Act 2015. Now this even goes as far as employment, where you must have a certificate certified that in your in your employment, the gender factor has been factored in. So this means that even women are now brought closer in terms of employment to give them more. And the list is endless when it comes to policies that our government has put in place to ensure that women shine and women have their full potential. They are not limited by any challenges in terms of law, their rights being abused. So there is an equal platform for both sex, that is the male and female, to reach their potentials, and this is backed by the laws and policies of the land.
Well, I'm glad you talk about, you know, the policy bit, but also Uganda as a country, I believe, has really strived and has had some achievements, especially when it comes to attaining gender equality. And I know there are things to prove, there are policies to prove, there are, I mean, amendments of certain laws that are there to prove that Uganda has achieved all this, of course, over the years. I mean, right now, where we stand as Uganda, 2022 is not the same when it comes to maybe 2016, 2015. Especially when it comes to women empowerment. Robert, what are some of those things, some of those achievements that the Ugandan government you think has really come out to give us proof that, you know what, even women are important people, we consider them?
Phil, I try to look for some statistics.
Yes.
That can justify, that is from the Uganda National Bureau of Statistics, and a couple of other well-established organizations that do research, both here and internationally. And you know, the figures are very impressive. We're not yet at the best, at top of it, but when you look at what we've achieved, I'm really very happy. For example, from Uganda National Bureau of Statistics, they show that they carried out a census, and remember during the census they asked property owner and all that. And it is very clear that ownership of property among women has improved from 12 to 38%. Women that now own property. Traditionally, women owned nothing. But now here we are. And of women who own houses, compared to that is 54. Now, 38% of women own property in Uganda.
Wow.
Own houses, compared to 54. Yes, the gap is still there, but at least there's something.
There is progress.
There is progress. And when we go to women that own land, now it's at 31 compared to 48 of the men who do so, which is a significant improvement of about 16%. So by 2000, now 2016, you see that this is where we had gotten. Now also, when we look at politics, and I know here many ladies are eager to know how they are doing in terms of politics, you'll find that we have 32 senior ministers, and 14 of whom are women. That is a 44% compared to 36% in 2016. So when you look at that percentage, 44% of our cabinet, really of our senior ministers being women, I think that is also a step in the right direction.
Yes, in this 11th.
Yeah, and then out of the 50 ministers of state, 23 are women. That is 46%. So when it comes to decisions, you find that really women have a voice. And the main question would be then, have they really brought out the women issues at these places they are occupying positions of leadership? Then the 11th Parliament has 175 female representatives in Parliament, and now it stands at 34%. Out of the 34 permanent secretaries, you have 17 that are women. That is 48.5%. Parliament, female, they are 34%. When it comes to permanent secretaries, my God, that is 48.57%. So we are looking at these tremendous achievements that have been able. Then Uganda has also witnessed progress in equal opportunities in public service. Currently, women in government ministries constitute 40.1% of the total staff in 21 ministries.
Wow.
Still, that is a step in the right direction. 37.7% in public universities. And we have 58.1 of staff in public hospitals. So when you go for treatment, you'll see that women that are doing sciences are many. If they are up to 58.1%, that is a very big number in hospitals. And 37 of all district local government staff are occupied by women. So this is also something that now we know our country, for some of the messes here, that this gender has a great, we should hold it responsible to another level. Then Uganda has achieved gender balance when we look at in terms of enrollment, that is in school, where we have 49.5 of boys and 50.5. This is when you go to primary. These are girls.
Yes.
On the Ministry of Education. So now you have more girl enrollment in school. When you go to primary enrollment, has increased from 49.9 for girls and 51.1 for boys. That was us by 2008. So there are so many areas, the list is endless.
Yes.
But you find that in terms of, because you can only quantify this in terms of percentages, I don't think there's any area where we've seen women at 20. Averagely, they are 40 to something in percentage. And somewhere they have excelled. I was looking at Mercury University, a recent intake, where the female gender is at 51. You get it?
Yes.
And the male gender, really the male are around 50. So all this shows that when you look at these policies that I've mentioned first and come to what has been achieved, tremendous steps have been made. And we've gotten a result from the good policies and the good laws that we have as a country.
Well, the morning poll question is still running, and that is, how can women in Uganda promote the mitigation and response to climate change adaptation? Feel free to give us what you think and some of your feedback. Speaking of climate change, now we know that this year's theme definitely is directed in making sure that women know what they can actually bring to the table, what they can contribute, especially when it comes to mitigating and adapting to climate change. Now, this to you, Mollen, maybe in your perspective. Let's start by looking at the impact of climate change on women and girls, especially right here in Uganda.
Well, when we talk about climate change, and I'm happy that this year's theme is actually focusing on adaptation and mitigation, because when we're talking about adaptation, you're looking at a situation where you already have effects of climate change. So the actions that you're putting across to live with what is already there is the important part.
Yes.
And you were bringing into the issue of mitigation. Then how then do you stop this from going further? What can be taken? And this is where we're having a discussion before on how we continue to say, please cut down emissions on climate change.
Yes.
Because we are trying to mitigate climate change. Because we also have to recognize that we have already established the fact that we have vulnerable groups when it comes to effects of climate change. And women and girls actually are the most vulnerable when it comes to how climate change has gotten us to all these events.
Yes.
We're looking at flooding, we're looking at droughts, we're looking at heat waves. All those are consequences of what happens when the climate is changing. But most especially when you look at Uganda as a country, we are really a vulnerable country, and not to mention, of course, in a poor category, being at that level in developing countries. But I want to focus mainly on what fuels our country's economy, and that is agriculture. If you look at agriculture as a sector, and statistics actually show that 80% of the workforce in agriculture are women. So this is where you see the impact, because these are the same people who are going to be going for the planting, harvesting, and all these are affected by the changing weather. So what happens then if this is no longer to the normal?
Yes.
So that is where women get affected most, because they contribute to the hugest workforce when it comes to agriculture. Because that means you're creating a gap on how food is going to be in the family. So this actually puts a challenge on the entire family.
Yes.
Although men are primarily involved, but they do not see the direct impacts when it comes to making sure that you're bringing food to the table. But you also look into aspects of biodiversity, where we bring in, you know, the consumption at home, because we now know that most of the sources of, you know, even preparing food at home, we are talking about biomass, which are now the renewable or clean energy we're talking about. But you also look at the mother at home in villages, because the women are the ones now responsible for collecting firewood and making sure that there is food at the table. But in a world where you're looking at that becoming a problem, you have, you know, less availability of these resources, then they are the ones suffering, getting the challenge. Also, you talk about the water resources at this point, because you're going to look at, traditionally actually, the people who collect water, you look at the rural homes where women have to collect, women and girls have to collect water from far distances to come to bring that to the homes. The men will be seated at home and I will quote that in line of, we are looking for money. But the challenge still goes to the girls and women that are going out there to make sure that they are actually soliciting and getting this kind of, you know, making sure that the home goes on as it should. And also the challenges have been posed around that, because we did see, statistics did come out to actually show us that some of the cultures in Uganda have actually been trading girls in light of getting food. Because in a family where you cannot get food, then you have to look for a solution, and that is something that has come out as bad. We were shown that in Karamoja and Teso, where a certain number of girls were sold as commodities in a Arapai market in Soroti, and that is after there was shortage of food due to the droughts, the prolonged drought in 2016-2017. Imagine a scenario like that, where someone has to sell off their girls just to get food on the table. So at the end of the day, it's the women being sold off. Now, couldn't they think of maybe the men to be sold off? No.
What was there to buy about? If they were looking for slaves, you see, in slave trade, women were not so much a desire. They were looking for the men because they had the energy, they would do the work.
That these people
now in Karamoja there, in modern day, the most vulnerable in such a trade are women.
Yeah. Well, you also look into the fact that when you're looking into Karamoja as a region, this is one part of the country that has been worst hit by climate change, because there is always prolonged drought. Now, even when they get the rains across that part of Uganda, it comes with the flooding. Guess who is affected? It's the women who are now having to fend for the families, because this is also one region that has been marked to be, you know, having most independent women or single women. At that point, even bringing in the effect of the issue of single mothers. So they still get all the effects of climate change. Exactly. And then you look into the health issue, because once you have effects of climate change, like, you know, the heat waves, it's going to create those health effects. And who is tending to the children at home getting sick? It's the women. Exactly. So that's how vulnerable we have gotten to that category. But you also look into the human rights that has come across, and it brings in a good example of what we have just talked about in Karamoja. No one has the right to sell off someone because there is shortage at home. So I think that is one thing that, as Uganda has been, you know, subject to, you know, conversations, and we look into what can be done. Also, women have been enslaved to become pastoralists in such areas, cattle keeping areas, where you find that they have been subject to even issues of rape. Because these are women wandering around bushes with not enough energy to, you know, fight off these men. So the moment you put them in a category where they now have to fend for themselves, then you're putting them out there to be exposed to all these rampant, you know, rape cases. And that is where we get the challenge as women trying to survive in this, you know, changing world. Because I'm telling you, all that is to make sure that we have food on the table. But we're looking at these things changing. Agriculture is no longer something to look up for and be like, okay, we're going to plant and get food. Now these are the challenges that are coming up.
Well, clearly at the end of the day, you see that the biggest percentage of people who are really feeling the effects of climate change are the females. And there is a lot of work that is desired right there to be done. But as we conclude to this, come to a conclusion to this, Robert, what are your parting shots?
First, I want to begin with education. There is a saying that educate a girl child, educate a nation. Where the world is moving, education is a stepping stone into all that we've discussed. So dear men, dear women, do all it takes. Let's educate the girl child of Uganda.
Mollen.
Well, I say mitigate. I say while we're adapting to the changing climate, and this year's theme is really showing us that on how to help women adapt to the changing climate, make sure that we actually stop what is opposing the change. So I'm glad that most of the women groups are coming up to actually do campaigns on tree planting. That's a good thing. So continue doing that. Have those campaigns on tree planting. Have a voice out there on how we can stop climate change, because at the end of the day, it's going to affect our mothers. It's going to affect our sisters and our children. That's the girl child.
Well, the poll question is still running right there on our social media platforms, and we want to know, how can women in Uganda promote the mitigation and response to climate change adaptations? Hashtag UBCGMU, and of course the number 0709602592. I will be getting into some of your feedback shortly after here. But yes, it is your responsibility as an individual. Imagine a world where gender equality is very progressive. Imagine a world where discriminations and stereotypes are not the order of the day, where bias is actually not the order of the day. Now, I believe that we all can forge a way towards that, to make sure that the women are also put into consideration while we are trying to make sure that everyone has equal rights. That is the world that we need to fight for, because at the end of the day, everybody has quite a lot to contribute to Uganda as a country, but also Uganda as an economy. We'll be back to take a look at what is happening in the papers, and of course I'll be giving you some of your feedback, and later on we'll be taking you to the roads, and more information and news coming in from the arena of climate. Good Morning Uganda returns shortly.
Double MBs. For the same price on daily bundles with Airtel, now you get double MBs for twice your enjoyment. For 250 shillings, you now get double. That's 30 MBs. For only 500 shillings, you get 80 MBs. And for 1,000 Uganda shillings, enjoy 180 MBs. All valid for 24 hours. Dial *175# or use the My Airtel app to enjoy double MBs on your daily bundles for the exact same price with Airtel, the smartphone network.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile, because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way, because we are all different, even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body, because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Raising voices.
As a teacher, I have the opportunity to shape how children grow and learn. I believe in creating a non-violent school where children feel safe and respected. I promise to lead by example and create a different kind of relationship with my learners, one that helps them grow.
In this time of COVID, what is your promise to the children of Uganda? Because a violence-free childhood is everyone's right. Raising voices.
Patriotism is a feeling of love, devotion, and the willingness to sacrifice for one's country.
I say no to corruption because I put my country first. I choose peace over violence because I put my country first.
I love Uganda. I serve Uganda. I sacrifice for Uganda. I'm loyal to Uganda. I love myself.
Be patriotic. Uganda first. This message is brought to you by the National Secretariat for Patriotism Uganda, Office of the President.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Ntunulemwe. Well, good morning once again, and in the papers today we take a look at what is trending, and of course today being International Women's Day, definitely a whole lot of information has to be surrounding that. But taking a look at the Daily Monitor first, mad dash for National Social Security Fund money on day one. Of course the applications did kick in yesterday, so this was quite anticipated. Now you need to know how far it went. About actually at least 2,500 members yesterday did file for the midterm access in a mad dash on day one. And also looking at COVID food, interdicted OPM staff back to work. And right there we also see inside there is what Women's Day means for children. How do they interpret this? Does it have any significance to them? And also Prosper, who will take power to the powerless, and over about 50 offers of tenders. Technoserve, TASO, New Plan, URA, Ministry of Lands, UNHCR, the list is endless. So make sure you grab yourself a paper, so probably you couldn't miss an opportunity. But also in more news, one shot dead as students strike over Man United game, which is Manchester United, and majority illegal guns with youth. This is according to the army. Maybe it's time we also see what is happening in the New Vision this morning.
Well, the New Vision also gets to have that big headline there saying Ugandans rush for NSSF cash. Well, that has been a well-awaited for time. So in Uganda there is a rush. But also the New Vision also shows you how over 30 outstanding women to be honored at Kololo today, and that is as we celebrate the International Women's Day here in Uganda. Also still in the New Vision, they show you Museven's bans on land evictions, that right there. Also the New Vision will be showing you more on the Harvest Money Expo that is forthcoming, but also a picture there still on the New Vision that is showing the NSSF Managing Director right there inspecting workers as they validate members for the midterm access right there. And what is interesting is also the New Vision is showing how men can cope with empowered women. Well, that's a good one. In a world where we're empowering women, men should be able to cope. So that's an interesting story that you need to get yourself a copy of the New Vision and have more on that.
And in the Daily Nation, Ruto to run parallel vote at a tallying center. And of course, the Deputy President says he's confident of the victory in the presidential elections following by-elections win in Msambweni and Kiamba constituencies. And also we're taking a look at American firm Moderna to build vaccine plant in Kenya. Well, that would do so well for their health sector. But also we look at Kenya's loads of impunity emboldened by inaction. That is a sector gone rogue. And yes, there are certain reactions of suspects held by police where about 16 suspects in connection with the attack on the female motorist. Of course, it was not clear. Now, that story has been making virus. Some more details on it, you have to make sure that you find it on the Daily Nation. But also, International Women's Day is still happening right there. They're also getting into the celebrations, and that is more in The Voice. And also, World of Difference for KCPE candidates. And of course, there is a special report, Healthy Nation East African in the Pandemic. Well, make sure that you get yourself these, or you can actually access it online, Daily Nation, to get all these stories. Well, today is International Women's Day, and we are still celebrating. But we are celebrating women who actually take on quite odd jobs that you don't expect them to see. Mollen, we know that the border business is predominantly, filled with men. But have you been ridden by a border woman before? Because I have seen a number of them. Not many, but I've seen quite a number of them. Honestly, I think that this International Women's Day, I am meant to, celebrate women like that. It takes quite a very daring heart to be a woman who rides a border.
Absolutely. And I haven't had the pleasure to actually, have a ride with a woman on a border, but I have seen some. And there is that woman who has really been powerful about advocating for that, and she works with Safe Border, one of the few women actually that did subscribe to that. But the way she was passionately talking about being a rider at that level, I was like, wow, these are the kind of women that deserve to be celebrated, because this world is for men, but she's there and she's happy about it. I'm like, wow.
But you know that there are also conductors. I have seen conductors on these taxi stages, females, by the way, very confidently, very boldly, calling on people to come through and these women, we need to celebrate them. The women who have just decided that, you know what, if I don't get what I want, I will still make sure that I find a way. These odd jobs are not something that you take for granted. And those women, by the way, are really, really hardcore. You don't want to mess with them.
Yeah, sure.
You don't want to mess with them. Well, we get back to the poll question. Now, of course, getting into some of your feedback. And Derek is saying, well, good morning. Since trees help in rainfall formation, women can condemn and avoid deforestation, and they should encourage people to plant more trees. Happy Women's Day to us. Thank you so much. And of course, you're wishing your celebrations to all the hardworking ladies out there, just in relations to what we were talking about. Well, we are celebrating all women in all fields, all these women who have just decided to step out of their comfort zone and do what they have to do to make sure that they survive. Well, we see you and we appreciate. Well, it's time we get to the roads. Today being International Women's Day, and of course the national celebrations will be happening at the Kololo Independence Grounds. Of course, you know what that means. That clearly tells you that there are some roads that are going to be cordoned off. Now, if you are planning to access the city center, probably, and you want to use that John Babiha Road, I want to tell you that, well, that is actually out of use. So you may have to look at other alternatives. You could use the Wandegea route all throughout. You could use any other route, because now they make sure that, also for security purposes, it's very important that they create some clear space. So just because of that, I will focus majorly on some of these areas around Wandegea, wherever you're coming from, or if you're going to use Ginger Road, well, it's ideal for you. But I can tell you that for the most parts of the road in Kampala, they are really, really free. As you can see, there is a whole lot of green. The stretches of green are so predominant. So that means that it's very, very free. And yes, because it's also a public holiday, so you have nothing to worry about, because the roads are not heavily congested as you would anticipate. Now, that's basically because people are at home, and even those who have to come, they come because they must. But other than that, it shouldn't be a big worry. Now, I'm going to focus on Kampala Central Division, where you see Yusuf Lule Road right there. It's quite free, but like I told you that when you're accessing Yusuf Lule Road, it is ideal that you use the Mulago Road, or you use Mawanda Road, or you use Wandegea. However, if you think think you're going to access it using the John Babiha Road right from Chira Road. That is a no-go area because it has been cordoned off, and also because we have Kololo around there. That is why we have the Independence grounds where the celebrations of International Women's Day are going to be happening. So it's ideal that you stay away from that, otherwise you're going to be burning fuel for nothing. So as you can see from Wandegea Market, as you're accessing the city center around Mercury area, all these stretches are green, very free, so you can use them to get to Kampala or to leave Kampala town. And of course there are a few orange spots right there. As you can see, there is these, there is also these as you're accessing Kampala Road. That means that there are quite a number of motor cars or border borders or any other kind of road user, but the stretches are not long, so you can be a little bit patient and get through with it as you're getting to the city center. And you can see also Mokwano Road here is a bit manageable. It's actually very manageable, so you could use that. That is if you're coming in from areas of if you're coming in from Kawempe, rather if you're coming in from Makindye Division, coming in from Zambia, coming in from Muyenga, coming in from Bukasa, all that side that drops you to the industrial area, there is nothing to worry about. All these green stretches show you that the roads are crystal clear for your usage. So I would say Kampala City is quite empty this morning, and I hope it happens for the course of the day. Well, that's it from the traffic updates this morning. But Mollen, knowing that today is International Women's Day, and we are also looking at it from the sphere of climate, the sphere of all this that we've been talking about, we've seen quite a number of female activists come up, Ugandan activists come up to join the rest of the world to talk about climate, to educate people, to create awareness and campaigns. I don't know, what do you have to say about this?
Well, honestly, I can tell you that there are a lot of women in the climate arena trying to make sure that there is justice for climate change. And right there, that's where, the top on that list is actually the UN Secretary, the UNFCCC's Secretary General. That is, a lady who has really made sure that we have all these agreements in place to keep us together when it comes to fighting climate change. And you also take into consideration what I mentioned earlier, the Honorable Minister of State for Water and Environment here in Uganda, Mama Mabida, Honorable Beatrice Enyar, who has already put her voice on what should be done in climate justice. Then not to mention the climate activists in Uganda, the girls that are at that level who have made sure that we actually see and hear their voice into what they are calling, climate justice, climate emergencies. I said that a lot of women are really trying to make a difference in this climate justice campaign. Yes.
Well, it's never too late for you as an individual as well to make sure you educate yourself about this climate topic. It's very important to you because it affects you in one way or another. You can indulge and also self-involve yourself in some of these campaigns and awareness. Well, have a great International Women's Day, and I repeat this, I celebrate all women wherever you are in all your capacities and whatever you are contributing to our society. I see you, I appreciate you, and yes, I know that you value quite a whole lot. I am Philomena Mastiko. Have a wonderful and great Tuesday morning.
Well, let me also add to that vote of thanks to you, Philo, for also making sure that, you give all this information to us. And, it's a good thing to also have females take on responsibilities, especially you being a traffic lady here. I mean, so thank you very much, Philo. But we want to also look into what women, most of the women that have been really taking on the climate role and making sure that we have climate justice. Now, I was reading this morning about some of the groups, especially within the southern part of Uganda, and some of those groups that have actually put across campaigns to plant trees, and that is across areas of Hoima, Kasese, some of the districts I was reading about in Tungamo. We have groups of women there that have taken it upon themselves, while we are forming, other women are forming circles to, have money or invest in this. They're having campaigns to plant trees, and that is to make sure that, we reduce the emission of greenhouse gases, but also trap some of that carbon dioxide that is talked about as one of the gases that are actually increasing the heat in the atmosphere, thus forth increasing the rise in temperatures. So yes, that's a very good thing that these women are doing, and I want to say thank you and also keep on inspiring other women across Uganda to do the same, because when we're talking about tree planting, we want to look into what is at stake. Now this morning we were reading a story about the world's largest rainforest, and that is the Amazon. Now the picture that is also shown on the screen is part of the Amazon, which is said to have been predicted to reach a tipping point. Now what is at stake when we're talking about such a forest cover at a big level, being the world's largest rainforest? Because obviously we also have effect of that rainforest, because the influence that it has across the world's weather is just globally felt. Now the story is indicating that we could actually lose cover. Now what is at stake is some of the trees that could be lost due to wildfires or being cut down, they are also sending more carbon into the atmosphere, because while the trees do trap the carbon, it means that at one point when they are cut and at such a huge level, then you're going to have this carbon get back into the atmosphere. So that's what we're looking at. And what does that mean? It means that now we have more of this carbon dioxide gas in the atmosphere, so that means more heat, and that means more rise in temperatures. Also, after the rise in temperatures, what comes forth? Then we're looking at more increasing frequency of extreme weather events. And in that, we're talking about more droughts, more flooding that we are already seeing even across our country. So when we're talking about planting trees and maintaining that forest cover, it is the one thing that we actually encourage everyone to participate in. Now, Mama Mabila has been really consistent on encouraging government not to encroach on the forests that we have even here in Uganda. We have been, given these natural resources for a reason, and which is why Uganda's climate has actually, for a long time, was stable. But now we're looking into a scenario where all our seasons have changed. We have variations, so you can't know even when these rains that we have forecasted are going to really be enough for your planting. So this is why we actually continue to form up campaigns and encouraging not just women but also men to engage in planting more trees and making sure that we are beyond the climate crisis and looking more into climate action. But talking of climate action and why we need to do that, there is increasing amounts of extreme weather events, and one we saw actually this week is the story about Australia in Sydney, where there is continued flooding over there. Now some of the images that did come through showing a part of northeastern Australia that was really submerged into water after the flooding continues in that city. Now there are more alerts even for today of increased rainfall across that area. Now the death toll is rising to 20, and also more people are still suspected to be still missing due to the heavy rains that is still across the eastern part of Australia and parts of Sydney. Now, you also look into the fact that this is a prolonged event, because when you have rainfall going on for 5 days, then you already have the ground already having a lot of water. So that means that all the rainfall that is coming now will be just flooding over there, and that is why you look at the local authorities in Sydney right now trying to inform people, please leave the place. If you're close to this area that is likely to get into flooding, like they have demarcated, please move away. And I'm happy to also read the stories this morning that were showing that more of the residents from the eastern part of Australia have already vacated the place in anticipation that there could be more flooding over there. It's just one event after the other, and this is, as you can see, is actually going globally. It's not just us here in Uganda dealing with the floods or the wildfires in the USA or Canada, but everywhere people are feeling the effects of climate change, and which is why even as we were talking this morning in our news, we were referring to women being most vulnerable, because you look at the evacuations that are being done, the people that could be left behind are the children and women who are not having enough energy to make sure that they can actually go away from harm's way. So that is why we continue to say let's fight to make sure that we don't have a lot of these changes. Well, away from that, I want to also take you through what is happening across Uganda right now, look into the weather that is happening across the country, but also what is bringing this reduced weather activities across the country. Now we are talking about that tropical depression across Madagascar. Now this area unfortunately has continuously been bombarded with all these low pressure systems, and that means there's a lot of rainfall over there. Now this one is hitting the northern part of Madagascar, and it is still not named as a cyclone. It is a tropical depression, but equally means it is a low pressure system. And when we talk about low pressure system, take a look at that red color there, where there is this deep system of red to yellow. It means that this is the system that is bringing all the moist winds from the Indian Ocean. So what that means is that all the rainfall is coming and concentrating towards the northern part of Madagascar. Now that also affects the wind flow across the continent of Africa, because all the winds will be now moving towards this low pressure system, which is why actually there's a lot of rainfall over there, and it is starting to make landfall. The anticipation is that once it is on land, then some of these winds will push back, and maybe that will also give us chance to have some of those winds coming towards our country. But for now, that has been continuously affecting our weather here in Uganda and East Africa at large. If you look into what is happening over Kenya right now, it's currently dry, but also that has affected parts of Uganda where you're seeing only grey skies. That means that we are waking up to mostly a sunny morning across the country, even when we have some of those systems that are coming across from Congo, but those are still also moving southwards towards most of those low pressure systems. So that means that that is also not helping with our weather this morning. So most likely we will be dealing with most of that intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions. Now, a sunny morning is still forecast across northern Uganda, parts of Karamoja as well, where temperatures continue to soar across the country, and that will only be getting worse for the next 3 days, because we still have that tropical cyclone over there that is still likely to increase, and that means there's going to be reduced wet weather activities. But also you look into parts of Kampala and the central a part of Uganda also still equally dry, looking into starting with sunny intervals this morning, and that is also likely to rise temperatures. But we do expect there is some good news, because while you have the Lake Victoria there, it helps with enhancing some of those local effects. So we might get a few rains, but also that is over a few places. Like you saw yesterday afternoon, some parts of Kampala did get some rains, but that was also over a few areas. It's like scattered over a few areas, so that is likely to also happen for some of these areas within the southern sector. But northern Uganda, eastern Uganda, those areas continue to be really dry. Temperatures are going to be high, so that's one time when you really have to make sure that you're dressed in layers, you're dressed in light clothes, to make sure that you don't feel that heat wave, and also keep yourself hydrated. Have that water bottle with you to make sure that you're coping with the increasing temperatures. Otherwise, I want to wish you happy celebrations as you celebrate Women's Day, and also look forward to helping the women and achieving that gender equality that we're talking about for a sustainable future. My name is Mollen Kenyena. I want to wish you a good day.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by
How to get points. Just use MTN to make calls, send SMS, load airtime, buy bundles, or pay for MTN subscription services.
Everywhere you go, MTN. Your MBs are now bigger MBs, only on MTN. When you load a daily bundle of 250 shillings, you no longer get 15 MBs, you get 30 MBs. For 500 shillings, you no longer get 40 MBs, you get 80 MBs. For 1,000 shillings, it's no longer 100 MBs, it's 180 MBs. Dial *150*10# or use the My MTN app to load bigger daily bundles, only on MTN.
MTN is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
COVID-19 is still here with us. As Owechitiwa Peter Maiga, the Prime Minister of Buganda, states, let us all take the necessary precautions.
Self-medication is always very dangerous. We should leave medical matters to the medical personnel. It's only a healthy population that can produce wealth. And if you want to work for your well-being, you must care about your health first.
Because of the new COVID-19 circulating variants like Omicron, it is very important for all of us to be fully vaccinated with 2 doses of the same vaccine type. It's only those getting Johnson & Johnson who receive only a single dose to be fully protected.
Even after vaccination, continue to adhere to all SOPs by wearing a mask properly, covering your mouth and nose, washing your hands regularly with soap and clean water or using an alcohol-based sanitizer, maintaining physical distance of at least 2 meters from others and avoiding crowds. Echa COVID-19, chija kugwa. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from UNICEF and partners.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Raising voices.
As a mother, my children depend on me to make this world a safer place for them. I'm not afraid to act when I see violence in the home and in my community. I promise to talk to my neighbors and friends about how we can nurture and protect the children.
In this time of COVID, what is your promise to the children of Uganda? Because a violence-free childhood is everyone's right. Raising voices.
MBs are now bigger MBs only on MTN. When you load a daily bundle of 250 shillings, you no longer get 15 MBs, you get 30 MBs. For 500 shillings, you no longer get 40 MBs, you get 80 MBs. For 1,000 shillings, it's no longer 100 MBs, it's 180 MBs. Dial *150*10# or use the My MTN app to load bigger daily bundles only on MTN.
MTN is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
It's time to learn. Schools are open. As a student, school life is going to be different. You must follow the COVID-19 prevention measures, which include always maintaining a 2-meter distance from others in class, dormitories, entertainment halls, school vans and playgrounds, regularly washing your hands with soap and water, wearing a washed and clean mask that covers your mouth and nose every day, and encouraging your classmates to do the same. Your teachers will also guide you on how to follow SOPs. Don't engage in violence with other students. Report any cases of abuse by teachers or other children to a senior teacher. Those who don't follow the rules should be immediately reported to a class teacher for correction and further guidance. If you experience flu-like symptoms such as a sore throat, fever, dry cough or body weakness, immediately seek medical attention from the school nurse and inform your class teacher. Whenever you sneeze or cough, please remember to cover your nose and mouth with a bent elbow, tissue or handkerchief. Let's share knowledge, not COVID-19. This message is supported by the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education and Sports and UNICEF. Stay safe.
Raising voices.
As a mother, my children depend on me to make this world a safer place for them. I'm not afraid to act when I see violence in the home and in my community. I promise to talk to my neighbors and friends about how we can nurture and protect the children.
In this time of COVID, what is your promise to the children of Uganda? Because a violence-free childhood is everyone's right. Raising voices.
National Medical Stores is a government agency mandated to buy, store and distribute medicines and medical supplies to government health facilities in Uganda. For Ugandans that we serve, help us serve you better by taking your individual responsibilities seriously. Report theft of government medicines and medical supplies to the nearest police station or to the State House Health Monitoring Unit. Do not pay for any medicines or medical supplies labeled Government of Uganda, not for sale. Do all that is within your means to stop all preventable preventable diseases, including COVID-19. Continue observing the Ministry of Health Standard Operating Procedures, SOPs, including wearing a face mask whenever you are in public spaces. Visit a designated health facility to receive your COVID-19 vaccination and a booster dose for those that are eligible. Prevention is better than cure. National Medical Stores, passionate about your life.
Patriotism is a feeling of love, devotion, and the willingness to sacrifice for one's country.
I say no to corruption because I put my country first. I choose peace over violence because I put my country first.
I love Uganda. I serve Uganda. I sacrifice for Uganda. I'm loyal to Uganda. I love myself.
Be patriotic. Uganda first. This message is brought to you by the National Secretariat for Patriotism Uganda, Office of the President.
Double MBs! For the same price on daily bundles with Airtel, now you get double MBs for twice your enjoyment. For 250 shillings, you now get double. That's 30 MBs. For only 500 shillings, you get 80 MBs. And for 1,000 Uganda shillings, enjoy 180 MBs, all valid for 24 hours. Dial *175# or use the My Airtel app to enjoy double MBs on your daily bundles for the exact same price. With Airtel, the smartphone network.
This is Good Morning Uganda.